So I'm gonna ask you some questions. I know we kind of had a topic in the chamber, if you will. I wanted to kind of go rogue here, just so I think I've got a good topic that we should talk about that we've not really discussed yet, at least between us two.
Let's go
So
there. Let's do it.
so you're talking about investment properties and what gets you excited when you see a rental or future potential real estate investment. So I was wondering what exactly gets you going? Like, what really lets you know that this is a good property investment?
That's a great question. For me, it's all about the numbers. So, and when I go through here, first off, it's important to know that there's the numbers for my business as an investor, but as a real estate agent, I'm searching for the numbers for my clients. And that's
Okay.
important because in real estate, we always say everybody's running a race and you have to understand what race you're running. For example, some people are flippers, some people are buy and hold. Some people, and even with buy and hold, by the way, there's Airbnb, single family rental, there's midterm rentals, pad splits. There's like a whole wide world. And we didn't even talked about syndication. So, in this question, I'll tell you what excites me for my personal business as an investor. I love it when I walk into properties that nobody sees the value because they need a lot of work. And I love taking those houses that are maybe a drain on the community, that eyesore, that house that is dragging everybody's property value down. I love buying those houses because I can buy them, I can refurbish them and put them back into great shape, and it's great for the community. I love adding value to the whole community, but also it gives me a chance because I bought a property at a low price point because it was in such bad shape. I don't have to sell it at the highest price point either, which means I also get to, really help somebody in the community have a home. I love helping out first time home buyers. So that's kind of what gets me going. And then targets, we can talk about if you want to, but targets for me come down to numbers. I'm not a touchy feely kind of person. For me, it's all about the numbers. But yeah, Chef, is that kind of answer your question a little bit?
It does. So I'm going to tell a story and we're going to laugh about it. And I'm hoping you're going to give me some insight onto what you saw and what I did not see. So
Okay.
Dr. J and I had this opportunity to go look at a property that was for sale in his market. He
I love
was
this.
he was so pumped on this property. So this property has been sitting empty for a good minute. It looks like it was potentially holding maybe fighting dogs or something. There was lots of dogs there. I do know that. I don't know what the purpose was. I don't want to make accusations to the previous
We
owner.
don't want to know. We don't ask questions.
But yeah, it's kind of a don't ask, don't tell type situation. But there was definitely dog urine and dog feces everywhere. The whole house smelled like it. It was like going through the carpets, down through the floors. There was busted up everything you can think of. There's copper wiring sticking out of walls. And while I'm sitting here trying not to touch anything because I feel the smell creeping onto me, my
I'm over
brother
here
is
like, smells like money.
yeah, my brother is like, this is the money house right here. This one's the money. And I'm just sitting here like, I don't know what you see over what I see. So break it down for me, Josh. We'll kind of use this house as an example because
Sure.
this was a rough looking house. It kind of was a diamond in the rough for somebody. There was busted up trailers that were back in the woods. The house was kind of janky, not to mention the smell. All the floors would have to be ripped out, no doubt. All the floors would have to go. Obviously, painting, probably new kitchen. So there would be lots of renovations that would have to happen to this house. So tell me what you saw that I did not see.
Yeah. So first off, the things that I see we'll use that house as an example. The house, while it didn't have a lot of landscaping, it sat on a good street. If you remember, it was a
It did.
nice, calm neighborhood. All the yards around it were well kept. Uh, the yards around it had great green grass and trees. I saw a little play areas outside, which meant that it was probably a safe neighborhood, places where parents felt safe for the kids to go outside and play. And so then you pull into the house, and then you get into the house, and it had all the things that you said. But something that's significant is before we ever showed up at the house, we ran a CMA, which is just real estate talk for a competitive market analysis. And what we
Okay.
discovered was that if this house were fully repaired in its greatest value and had a renovation, it could probably sell somewhere between 350 and 400,000. And that was a pretty conservative number for that house because that number was based on what homes around it had sold for in the last 6 months that had the same makeup of this house. And so, because the house though was in such poor shape, and you're actually being kind to this house, like I'll go ahead and tell you, I mean,
Words cannot describe how bad this house
it
was.
was
Like
about as derelict can get. But here's the
I
thing:
had
would you?
fleas after we left. I was pulling fleas off of me.
I
I went
love it,
home and
man.
my wife immediately said that I smelt like dog pee.
What's really cool though is that thing that ran you away from that house. Think about how many other people had walked in there and turned and ran. They opened the door and the
It's
smell, and
true.
they didn't go away. And that's why the house was sitting there, because the house needed a serious investor to come. And because I smelled money. Those fleas that hit my skin, those are what I call the money. They're bringers of money. I love it. They bring me money.
I'm a
Um,
homesteader. That's the sign of bad things to come when everything's covered in fleas.
but you have to remember, fleas, all that stuff can be abated and taken care of.
Right.
That house was purchased for $80,000. Now, I remind you that house in its highest value would sell for $400,000. So I agree with you. That house probably needed probably about $100,000 of work. But all in all, we'll just go ahead and up
Right.
it. We'll 180. We'll call it $200,000. But here's the thing: if I was willing to put $200,000 into this house, I would have a piece of property valued at $400,000. Uh, for me, as a person who likes to buy and hold properties, um, looking at the market in that area, the going rent in that area is around $2,500 to $2,600 a month for a 2,500 square foot house.
Wow.
That's what the rent is. So I could have held it for rent. I could have gone in because it was outside of the city limits. I could have pad splatted. I could have oh my gosh, pad splitted the house,
Well, it's,
turn it into
yeah.
6 or 7
That's split.
bedrooms. That
Right.
that would make it cash flow over $4,000 a month. That house was
Wow.
a magical house. And if I have any sadness in my life that you reminded me tonight of, Chef, it's that not only was that house so valuable, but another investor actually came in and overbid me because they saw the value in that property as well. So I like to look for hidden gems,
Okay.
things that people don't see. An example of a hidden gem is there a room somewhere that I can convert into an extra bedroom? Because for every bedroom I add, depending on the city, I may be adding 20, 30, 40, $50,000 of value. Where's the bathroom? Is sometimes if a house has one bathroom, but it's a two-story house, the plumbing's close, I might can add a second bathroom. Again, adding $20,000, 30,000, 40, depending on the neighborhood, of just sheer value. Those are hidden gems. I always like to say that what I'm really doing is I'm building my net worth by looking for other people's net trash. And it's the people that maybe don't have the skill, the know how, the desire. I can solve their problem. That particular house that you mentioned, the owner of that property was in a pretty bad spot. The house had sat on the market for like 100 days. They were trying to sell to get to their next phase of life. And so the investor that purchased it, I mean, provided value to that seller. It was a win-win situation, and that's really what we do is we look for clients and try to provide win-win situations.
I think whenever you think of real estate, you normally think of, Property Brothers and those guys who are working on $1 million, $500,000 plus homes.
Right.
You're not thinking about the busted up home. Like even like the renovation shows that are happening on HGTV have nothing that was on this house. It was one of those things like you had to watch where you step because we were
Yep.
not sure if the floor would even hold. It was a rough house, but yet my brother was just looking at the diamond in the rough.
You know, it's
So
so funny you say that too. I've told you the story of a house that we purchased over here in the south end of Atlanta that we got in and it had termite damage. And I knew I knew it had termite damage before we bought it. That's why I got such an incredibly good deal on it. But I'll never forget when our mother walked in and she looked down and could literally see dirt in one of the bedrooms because we had to cut out the subfloor and everything else to get to it. But
yeah.
the interesting thing is that property now is a rentable property. I purchased the home for $126,000, and it's going to be a rentable property that's going to generate $3,200 a month in net cash flow. Because I was willing to take that property and to put in that type of work. And so, that's how I like to say those are the game changers for those people that are interested in getting into real estate. Those are the properties right there that you can totally change your future, change your net worth, and you can do it in two or three houses.
So how do you find these houses in the rough?
That's a great question. So how I find the houses, there's really two key ways. Now I'm a real estate agent. For those people out there, I would tell you to go find a real estate agent. Usually, if you're looking on Zillow and all the things on your own, you may find one for sure. But there are tools that we have as agents that really help us. And of course, obviously, I would be crazy not to mention if anyone out there is listening. You can find me if you're in the state of Georgia, Joshua.Boyd at eXp Realty. My wife and I, we are agents with the JRB Dream Team, eXp Realty. We'd love to help you out. But I say all that to say there are two key ways that I can find properties for myself or for my clients. The first way and the easiest way is I write contracts. So one of my KPIs, and for those of you that are listening and you're trying to manage your own business, you have to know what your KPIs are, your key performance indicators. My KPIs are, one of them is how many contracts am I writing? So I can find any property on the MLS, or if you're a layperson, Zillow or whatever, maybe it's a $200,000 property. Well, the very first thing that I can do to buy under value is to write a contract, make an offer for 75 cents on the dollar. And a lot of people out there think that no one would accept that contract. But my very first one that I bought in 2023, it was a house, they wanted 180 and I wrote that contract for 150 and it was accepted. And so that's the first thing is I'm not scared to write contracts. When one of my clients or myself sees a property, every property is for sale. Every property in the
Yeah.
world has your property, chef, has a number. You've never,
Oh,
you
it
have a
does.
number in
I've
your
I've
mind
had
right now that you'll sell it for.
I've had 3 offers on my home here in the last 6 months.
Yeah,
And it's
absolutely.
not for sale. And it's not for sale.
But if someone offered you a certain price, would you sell it?
It'd be
If
some
I had $1 million right now, would you sell it to me?
I don't know for 1,000,000 because I've put in a lot of work. I don't have my house is
Two
I don't know if
million.
it's that's 2 we're getting on up there. Yeah.
Okay,
I
you know
admit,
what I'm
I'm
saying?
not
Everybody's got a price.
Yeah, so
Um,
we've got offers for we got a real estate investor that's trying to purchase a chunk of land that goes in between myself and the neighbor. I'm not sure what they're
Interesting.
trying to develop. It would connect this road, well, our one road basically onto the main highway. And then we've had a previous owner of the house come in and offer us a pretty penny for the house. Just they love the house. It's sentimental value to them. But
Okay.
sorry, we're not moving out. She's ours.
No, it's okay, but you know what? Right, it sounds like people are doing that with you. You know, the first one is just to write contracts. You'd be surprised
Right.
how many properties I pick up. You know, some folks are scared of insulting someone. I'm not scared of insulting anybody. I will write them an offer because you never know when there's a person out there who hasn't told anybody. There's been a death in the family, a divorce. There's something going on, and they need to sell their property. And because you were the person that had the guts to send them a contract,
Yeah.
they accept that contract. That's the first thing. The second thing is you know we understand how to review properties. We have tools at our disposal as realtors that don't necessarily exist on the open market, though I guess a person could get in and purchase those, where we're able to run comps and we're able to run market analysis. Zillow has a Zestimate I love Zillow. I think I'm actually a realtor that likes Zillow. I'm glad it's there because it gives everybody kind of an access to kind of get in
Right.
and see things. But remember, with Zillow, the Zestimate is not always accurate. It's kind of looking at
That's
more
what
of
I
the
was about to
national
say.
thing. Yeah,
It's not
it's
always
not
accurate on what it offers as on that Zillow estimate.
correct. For example, there was a property that looked at recently that Zillow said that the property was only worth 180, but we had that property appraised, and it appraised at 210 because the real estate market was hotter on that street than it was nationally for houses that size and that square footage. So Zillow couldn't, take into account that. And those are things that if you're listening to this, your realtor will understand because that's what a realtor does is they eat, sleep, drink, breathe real estate all day. I mean, I
Right.
I am that nerd that I wake up in the morning, chef. I pick a street and I analyze everything on it because I want to know every single thing about that street. So, but anyways, KPIs, always writing deals. The second thing is just understanding values. So sometimes something will come across the MLS and I can make them an offer for exactly what they asked for because I know that it was fair and reasonable. And I have a rule for myself, and that is that if somebody is asking for a price and it's a fair price for both of us, I don't try to take them down. I pay them what they've asked for because the best deals are the deals that are good for both people. And then the final thing is we run some marketing. I'm a part of several investor association groups, and we meet at these meetings to talk real estate. But at the end of it's networking hour, and you would be surprised how many properties never go on Zillow, never
Yeah.
go on those websites that are bought or sold or traded in that room. And that's something else that we get to offer for our clients as well is,
Our house was never on Zillow or Realtor.
I love
Our
that.
house
Yeah.
was actually purchased through a broker.
Great
So
example.
it was one of those things where the family had to move to Nebraska
Hmm.
on the hurry up to go work for an oil company. And so they had basically 2 weeks to get out, which worked out perfectly for me because I had 2 weeks to find a house. So the broker had already been doing business with them. So they were, let me make sure I get my story straight here. Basically they were a friend through a friend and then but knew about the property. And so when we called him, he had us 3 properties lined up to come and visit. All 3 were completely off the book. So we couldn't go to Zillow, we couldn't go to Realtor. They were places that were for sale before they can even hit the market.
I love that. And, and kudos to you too. And to kind of take what we're talking about and apply it to someone too. And I don't want to sound salesy because a lot of our listeners, we can see from analytics, they're not, I'm only licensed in Georgia and there's a lot of you listening in Alabama specifically. So there's no sales here, but find a professional and the real estate person, find a realtor, but whatever business that you're in, I love that book, Who Not How. I talk about it all the time. If you want to have a successful business or do great in your industry, you don't have to be the best at everything, but you need to know the people who are really good at whatever it is you're trying to do because they can save you thousands of dollars. I always say that one of the things I wasted time on, one of my big failures as an investor, actually was last summer. I was trying to save about $3,000. So instead of hiring a painter, I got out there and was like, I'll paint this house. Let me just tell you, chef, this house's paint job compared to everything else I've done where I've hired a professional painter is crap. So first off, the paint is not that I did not do a good job. It took me 4 weeks because I didn't have the tools, and to buy the tools would have costed me money. So to make a long story short, by the time I paid holding costs or paid the mortgage an additional month with
Right.
no tenant because I'm painting, plus the tools I did have to buy, I would have saved money and time to have just paid a professional to paint this house to be done with,
Yep.
and it would have looked
So
nicer.
yeah, so you've heard it first here, Dr. J. Dr. J, I want to take a quick moment here because we're talking about real estate, and obviously you're a real estate professional who talks about real estate in Atlanta. Can you do us a huge favor and let's make sure that we give your shout outs on your content and where they can reach you at? So talk to us
Yeah,
about your YouTube and your stats there. So we want to make sure that we provide the full link of how they can reach you and
Yeah,
interact with your
absolutely.
content.
There's several ways of finding me. First off, I want to give a shout out to my wife Rachel, who's not on here. Rachel and I are a team. And, my wife, we're partners together as investors, but we're also partners in our brokerage. We're a husband wife team, which is pretty cool. So you get a chance to see her as well. But if you want to find us on YouTube, our YouTube channel is Living in the ATL, all one word, @ Living in the ATL. But the YouTube channel is
Love it.
really cool because we just walk neighborhoods and we look at houses. In fact, we're uploading one that's going to hit tomorrow, where we're just doing sweet treats and we take people through the community and we showcase the best that is in Atlanta and South Atlanta, the places to go, the aquarium, crumble cookie. I mean, just
Yeah.
places that you want to see because we live here. So check us out there. You can find me on Instagram, also Living in the ATL. That's more of quotes and things related to my life as an investor, also as an agent. You can also find stuff about the big teams that we're building. And then finally, I'm on Facebook. You can find me there at Joshua Boyd Realtor with eXp Realty. And if you go to jrbdreamteam.com, you can learn more about the services we offer and things like that as well. So I appreciate you asking that, Chef. Thank you.
No, super excited for you. Again, there's not a better person who is more passionate about helping you find the right property for you. And again, if you're in that Atlanta area, Josh is the guy to talk to. I have friends upon friends who constantly are asking me questions about what he's doing and getting in contact with him. And again, he's really passionate about helping you. When a lot of folks are out there worrying about crazy bottom lines, Dr. J's over here making sure that you get the right house or find the right investment or your next big thing. So really excited. So make sure you check out Dr. J at Living in the ATL. We'll see you next time here, and we're thankful that you're here.
See you guys.